Good morning and welcome. So glad to have you guys all with us this morning. I am our online pastor, if you don't know me. And so I was checking on everything online, and all of a sudden I got up here and I could hear the service playing from my computer, from a hidden tab. I'm like, oh, quiet computer. But welcome. If you guys are new, I am Pastor Daniel. I have been on staff here for a long time. I am married to the one, the only, the amazing Amanda. And I am excited to get to preach today. Pastor Dwayne is speaking up in Big Rapids. He is often we've got a bunch of churches that we've helped start that are connected to us. And he does an amazing job of connecting with different leaders and pastors and pouring into them, not just here, but all over. And if you are new, I want to welcome you to ResLife and invite you, check us out for a couple of weeks, at least get to know us a little bit. I'm not the only face that you need to know. You need to come back and meet and see Pastor Dwayne and get to know us. And then I wanted to, before I tapped into my message, this is Memorial Day weekend, and I wanted to thank everybody who served. I want to recognize those that have served, but I also want to stop, honor and recognize those that gave their lives and those who bear the brunt of that. Those that lost their lives aren't standing here for me to honor, but their family members, their cousins, their friends are. So thank you to those, and I'm sorry, to those who paid the price, but thank you. Well, a little bit of an abrupt shift here as we get into my message, but I know that there are some people here who love to play games. And there are other people who hate to play games. Some people are like, all right, if it's a game where we can actually move and run around and play, I am in. Others are like, can it be a board game? Computer game? You know, can I just move my thumbs? Does that count? Like, we got all sorts of different people. But here's this thing, is all of us play to win. And some of you would like to argue with me on that because you've encountered competitive people. I say that, and I might be the competitive person that you encountered. But our competitive people know that whatever game we're playing, we play to win. However, there's this other group of people who think that they don't care about winning. They're lying. Let me tell you this, okay? So they care about winning, but they're just playing a different game. See, when we sit down at a board game, I go, what are the rules and what defines a win? And I want to do that. But there's other people who sit down at the board game and they go, I don't care what the rules are. I don't care what it says is a win. A win is the relationship with the person across the table from me. So I don't care what happens on the game board because that's really not the game that I'm playing. And others get into a game and they go, well, it's not just about the person over here. They're playing the game because that's their boss and they want favor. They're playing the game and there's different reasons, there's different things that they're trying to win even while they're in the same game. And recognizing that all of us are playing to win, we're just not all playing the same game. Or we all haven't defined winning the same way. And I got thinking about this, and as I do, I realized it leaves us with a big question. What game am I playing to win? Is that the game that matters most? See, I entitled my message, Are We Winning the Wrong Game? Because there's a lot of times where we can be really good at something and we can be working really hard, and on the outside, we can be winning. But if what we're winning isn't what's most important, we can still turn out to be a loser even while winning. We can win drastically and lose what matters most. And I kind of begin to look and going, okay, so what is successful? Because if I am successful in the wrong areas, I still lose. Somebody invented a game called life. Now, there is the real life, but there is a game called life. The person who invented this game, I think they defined winning by having the most dollars in your bank account at the end of the game. So I don't know if can you see my board up here? In this game, there's all different ways as you make your way through life and you drive your little car around the board and you stop at different points and you get cards that tell you that this is your job and this is your salary and this is your house and you get all this different money and then you buy different little pieces that turn out to be money at the end, which is great. But if we were to play this game, what if I changed just a simple 2 rules? I said, I'm gonna set a timer. And when the timer goes off, the game is over. So it's no longer can I make it all the way around the board, but it's until the timer goes off. But then I changed one more fun thing. I say, okay, this is the game, but as long as the game is going, I will trade you game money for real money. So you can at any point before the timer beeps, hand me any of that money and I'll trade it for this or for real money. Now, granted, this is a $100,000 bill. I didn't have any of those. Just got to play with my imagination here. But this is as good as I could do this morning. But I started thinking, going, how would this change the game if you recognize that you can convert any of that to this? Because no matter how much you win here, when the timer beeps, the pieces all go back in the box. It's all over. But what I've converted, well, that's real. That lasts outside of the game. It should change the way you play the game, right? If not, you're either so rich you don't care, or you're crazy. But it's so easy because when this happens, if we sit down, it's really easy to go, you know what? If I just convert all of my money right now, then I'm out of the game and there's more that I could have converted if I would have stuck in the game. But I don't want to not convert anything because then the timer may go off. I don't know how long I have. But it's easy then to go, well, maybe I'm going to convert some to start with because I don't want to totally miss out. So I'm going to convert that over to real cash. And then maybe I'm going to try to move down the board a little ways and see how much I can make to get over. But as I play, it's so easy to go, but the Joneses have more than me. Maybe if I get just a little bit more, maybe then I'll be winning. And then it's so easy to get caught in this and to get caught up going, well, yeah, I know that I need to convert some, but right now, maybe I'm winning. Maybe I'm winning in this game. And I can get so caught in this, I can get so lost in this, that I forget that the real game is the conversion game. Because what I convert lasts, because when the timer beeps, all that's in this is done. All that's here disappears. And it began to leave me pondering, going, am I winning here and losing here? Because this idea that I can be winning while losing, if I am winning the wrong game, is this massive spiritual concept that's also a physical principle. This happens spiritually, this happens relationally. All the time we'll see people that don't realize that they're trading their money, or they're trading their life and their health to get money, only to, in the end, trade their money to try to get their health back. And they're trading their family for money to get things for their family to discover that they missed their time with their family. They're working to win the argument only to discover that they lost the relationship. They won a sale and lost their integrity. They traded a moment of pleasure for a lifetime of regret. And to realize that if I'm playing the wrong game, I can win and lose at the same time. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 19, Jesus says this. He says, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy, where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys, where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." He goes through and says, this game won't last. He goes, don't spend all of your time trying to accumulate things here, because when the timer beeps, you lose them all. You can't take them with you to heaven because you don't know how long you got. And sooner or later, it's going to beep. Do you have till 80? 90? I got a 90-something-year-old grandma who is awesome. She's going to be like 93 now. Like at 90 or 91, she came over and had 2 of my kids on her shoulders at the same time. I'm like, bring it on, may those be my genes. Like, come on. But am I guaranteed 90? 70? 50? 40? We're not guaranteed how long we got. He goes, don't let this become your life, because your life is meant to be this conversion, converting this over into eternity. And it changes things. In Matthew 13:22, Jesus talks about this game. And this is his description. He goes, as for what was sown among the thorns, this is the one who hears the word, but the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word out, and it proves unfaithful. He goes, there's so many people who are living this life, but they get so caught here. They get so caught going, yes, I know that this is what really matters, but right now I'm ahead. Right now I have the best odds. Right now this is shiny, this is new. This is fancy. This is fun. But in the end, this folds up and gets put away. And he goes, don't let your life get sucked in to just this. And as I looked at this, there is a parable that I think is probably, okay, I have too many favorite verses to actually pin one down. But we're just going to go with this is one of my favorite parables. And it is one verse. But it's really easy to just blow past this one verse and to miss what it's saying. In Matthew chapter 13, verse 44, it says, the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and covered it up. Then in his joy, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. And I read through that, I'm like, well, that's weird. But it was actually my brother who explained it to me decades ago, and it came alive and became a favorite. Picture this guy. He's out for a walk, and he's just treks across some land that wasn't his, and why he's there, I don't know. But he stumbles on something, and it's a little bit hollow. What is this? He moves some leaves, and there's a board. He's like, curiosity gets the best of him, so he gets that and he pries in there. And this thing has been buried for like decades, possibly centuries. And underneath this like rotting wood, he finds this chest and he opens it up, and it is gold. It is a lot of gold. And he's like, that's gotta be at least $100 million. And he's excited. And he's thinking about, how is he gonna haul this out because that's a lot of weight. And then he goes, wait a second. This is not my land. This is not my gold. But it's been here for like 100 years. The odds are the person who owns the land doesn't know that they own the gold. So he shuts it, covers it back up. Because if you just rock up with like this massive amount of gold, they're gonna go, where'd you get that? And they're gonna be like, you're a thief. So he's like, all right, I got a plan. He goes, I will buy this land. Gold is technically, it's a mineral. And so if it's buried, they can say it goes to the mineral rights. And if it's found on the surface, it goes to the person who owns the land. And if I get the mineral rights and the land, then I win. So he's like, I will buy this land. And he goes home and he starts putting things for sale. And his friends are like, are you moving? Where are you going? He's like, I'm downsizing. To what? My car? A shed? I don't know. Doesn't matter. You want to buy anything? I got a couch. I got a TV. And they're like, well, why would you sell everything? You are crazy. Maybe. And he just keeps selling things and people give him a hard time when they're like, why would you live like this? Why did you just pick up a second shift? Why did you just pick up a third job? What are you doing? And he goes, you'll understand later. Some things in life are just worth it. He's like, what are you talking about? And he's going through and he's making all of these sacrifices and they're like, you're so crazy. And he's selling everything. And finally the day comes where he has enough money to meet the request for that land. And they go, okay, we'll sell you the land. And he buys it and everyone's like, dude, you're nuts. Do you realize how hard you worked, what you've sold? You're riding to work on a bicycle because you sold your car. You sold your house. Like, what are you doing? Why? And he goes, he doesn't care. He doesn't care what they think because he knows what they don't know. And so they think that he's crazy because he's happily making sacrifices. And he just looks and goes, if you knew what I knew, you'd be sacrificing too, trying to beat me. And then eventually, he buys the land. After he buys the land, he goes and collects the gold that's now his gold. And now everyone's like, oh, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have made sacrifices. I wish I would have done the thing to get the thing that you've got. But when you did it, it didn't make sense to me. I didn't understand. And Jesus goes, this supposed to be what our life looks like. See, while he was here and he was trading, and he was converting as fast as he could, everyone's like, what are you doing? You're losing the board game. And he goes, yeah, but I'm winning the real game. Why would you make these sacrifices? Because I know what really matters. And it's so easy to get lost in the things that don't. And as I look at this, it's easy for us to shift it to the back, but God shifts it to the front. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6 is strange. Now, there's quite a few verses in the Bible that when you first read them, they strike me as strange. If you've never read a strange verse, I encourage you to read your Bible. But Hebrews 11:6, in this, God's talking and he says this. He says, without faith, it's impossible to please him. Okay? For whoever would draw near to God must believe that he exists. Like, okay, that makes sense, right? This part of the verse makes sense. But then he goes, and that he's a rewarder of those who seek him. Okay, if I was to ask you, how would you like to be known? How many of you, before I read the verse, would have listed, I'm a rewarder of those who seek me? Like, who honestly would make that their description, their own description? And he goes, if you want to please me, you need to believe two things. You need to believe that I am and that I want to reward you. I'm like, that is not what I would have picked. But that's what he picked. He goes, I am setting you up for success. I want to reward you. I have set this up. I have all of these great things for you. Will you seek me and my will so that I can add these things to you? Will you play the conversion game, will you, with me? Will you live for eternity and not get lost in the moment? Will you live for what really matters, or are you going to trade what matters for what doesn't last? And it was this simple thing. And he makes it easy. In Matthew chapter 10, verse 42, he says, whoever gives one of these little ones a cup of cold water because he's my disciple, truly I say to you, he will by no means lose his reward. And he goes through and he goes, I will make it so easy to gather rewards. It is not he who starts a church gets a reward, not he who accomplishes this grand task and builds a hospital or donates $1 million, or he goes, if you give a cup of cold water for my sake, he goes, I'll see that. He goes, if you will love your spouse and lay down your right to be right and love and cherish them because that's my kid, he goes, I'll reward that. If you will suck it up and be kind to that person who's a jerk and love your enemy, like I said, he goes, ooh, I'll see that. I'll reward that. He goes, there's all of these things that to us can seem so simple. And he goes, yeah, it is. Because I want to reward you. I am not trying to make this difficult. He goes, I am trying to make it easy. Will you seek me first? Will you tip your waiter like you're representing Jesus or like you're a stingy old man? How will you treat your neighbor? Will they look at you and go, hey, that's my neighbor who loves Jesus? Or will they go, that's the neighbor I wish would move? For real. See, we have all of these different opportunities in our life to go, okay, is my life about what I can get right now, or is my life about what I can convert to eternity? Does my life consist of what I can gather? Does it consist in the number of zeros in my bank account, what year my car is, how many miles it has on it, or is my life consist of what I'm doing to honor God? Does it consist in winning the argument or loving Jesus and showing them that love? And it changes things. This whole message could really be summed up in Mark chapter 8, verse 36. What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Sitting here, this very simple thing of going, it doesn't matter how much you get here if you're not ready, if you're not right with him. If you have not put eternity first, none of this matters. Doesn't matter how much of it is. In the end, that all disappears. God likes to reward, but there's this problem. Rewards that are too disconnected don't motivate. So this is iFit for a while was giving out different prizes if you completed the challenge for the month. And I got an iFit bike and I started messing with iFit and I got a family pass for free with my bike. I'm like, cool. I just wanted a bike that would bike quiet so I could get exercise while my kids were sleeping. But it came with iFit, so I'm like, I'm gonna check this out. And I have gotten into it. And it has been great for me. And then I got my kids, or tried to get my kids into it, and they were getting into it. And I said, all right, for March, it's gonna be the last month they're gonna send a prize if you complete the challenge. But it's instead of a little magnet, they're gonna send a medal. And so I showed my kids the picture, said, all right, this is the thing if you'll complete the thing. If you complete 8 of the workouts, you'll get a bronze. If you complete 12, you'll get a silver. If you complete all 16 in that challenge, you'll get a blue. So why it went bronze, silver, blue instead of bronze, silver, gold, I don't know, but whatever. I tell them this and they're like, oh, that's cool. And so they go, and my one son, he starts on the bike, and he does a few bike rides. My other son, he gets on the treadmill, and he does one. And I went through my 16 pretty quick. And so because I was early enough, their shipping was decently quick. If you're at the end of the month, it takes forever. But they sent me my blue medal for my biking with like 3 days to go in the month. And when it showed up, I got it out. My boys were like, "What is that?" I'm like, "This is the medal. I showed you a picture at the beginning of the month." And they're like, "I want one." I'm like, "You've done one walk." But it was crazy because when they saw it, everything changed. And they're like, "Can we go downstairs?" I'm like, "Do you really want to try in 3 days to do more than you have done all month?" Yes, we do. Be my guest. Can you put up that picture? So here we are. And Zeke's wearing mine because he finished his on the last day. And so they're still sending him his medal. But in 3 days, I think they both completed upwards of 12 different rides or walks. So they'd sit there, they're like, "Can we put on Lord of the Rings, something long? Can we put on something? And can we just hit start and all right, this one ended. All right, hit the next one, hit the next one, hit the next one," and just walked or biked for hours. Because this went from being a mysterious concept to being something tangible, to being something real. And when it became real to them, it changed their behavior. This becomes real to you, it should change our behavior. Jesus worked really hard to make this real. He made it very clear. He says, hey, what does it gain a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? In Matthew 18 and in Matthew chapter 5, he talks and he goes, if your eye causes you to sin and it's going to keep you out of heaven, he goes, get rid of it. If your hand is going to cause you to sin, hack it off. He goes, you're better off entering heaven with one hand than going to hell with two. Trying to make this really real. Now, I am not suggesting that you leave here and go chop yourself apart. Note, it was the smallest area that he cut out. If your eye is causing you to sin, you could probably just cancel a couple channels and it'd be fixed. Or maybe put some accountability software on your phone or computer. Or maybe there's some relationships in your life that need to be cut out. But he goes, if it's going to cost you in this life, if there are things that you need to remove, he goes, it's worth it. He goes, this is real. Will you put in the effort? He goes, how real can I make it? Because if you gain everything and you miss this, you lose. You can win a lot of games, but if you lose the game that really matters, you lose. And he makes this so real. What are we converting? Matthew chapter 25, verses 34 to 40. Jesus is talking. He says, all right, in the end, I'm going to come back and I'm going to gather everybody. I'm going to gather them and I'm going to split them down into two groups. And he says, I'm going to turn to the one group and I'm going to say, thank you. I was hungry and you fed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was in prison and you visited me. And he just goes down this list of all of these different ways that they ministered to him and they served him. And then he gets done and they go, when? When did we do this? He goes, when you did it to the least of these, you did it unto me. Now he turns and he says, well done, good and faithful servants. They enter in and they so good. And he turns to the others and he goes, I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was naked and you didn't clothe me. I was in prison and you didn't visit me. And he runs through that same list. And they go, when did we see you broken, hurting, naked, hungry? He goes, when you did it to the least of these, you did it to me. Well, my dad, what you do to my kids matters to me. If you're a jerk to me, you're a jerk to my kids, I got a problem. And he goes, you want to honor me? Will you love my children? Because what you do to them matters to me. And we have a chance to store things up. I was praying this through in my office this week. And I looked and I said, God, I want to win. What's the win? And a win is hearing, well done, good and faithful servant. But I looked, and as I was praying this through in my office, I'm like, you know what? It is not enough for me to hear, well done and good and faithful servant, because I don't want to hear that alone. I want my children standing there with me. I prayed this through, and I'm like, my goal, I want to populate a neighborhood in heaven. I want to bring people with me. I want my life to honor God, and I wanted to take others with me. And when this becomes real, going, God, I want to win. And I know it's going to cost me. I know that shining your light, shining your love is going to be inconvenient. I know that it means that I'm going to love somebody who's hard to love. I know that that's going to take time. I know that means that I need to treat my waiter with respect. I know that means that I need to treat my wife like she's your daughter. I need to treat my children like they're not just my children, but they're yours. I need to treat my neighbor like they're your children. And I begin to run through this. I'm going, God, I want to win. But I want to win what matters. Because I can win 1,000 medals and watch them all disappear when the timer goes off. Because you can have all the money in the world, but you can't take it with you. Fame doesn't last. Relationships matter. But in the end, if you have the world's largest funeral and you go to hell, you still lost. And we get to go through and ask, what game am I playing to win? God, I want to win in eternity. And if you're here, and maybe you're winning at this game, maybe you're in dead last. But Jesus came to trade. Life is more than this. He laid down his life for us so we could play an eternal game. So we could live for him. So that we could be forgiven. And if you have not received that forgiveness, if you have not made Jesus your Lord, if you do not know that you're in a right relationship with God, I want to give you an opportunity today to make him your Lord. Can everyone bow their heads and close their eyes? If you're here, you say, today, I want to make Jesus the Lord of my life. I want to know that I'm right with God and on my way to heaven. Then when I say 3, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand. Every head bowed, every eye closed. 1, get ready. 2, 3, go ahead and raise your hand. I see your hand, and your hand, and your hand, and your hand. Who else says that's me? Up top. Another one up top. Another 2 up top. If you're online, you can just type in, that's me. We're going to say a simple prayer. Another one over here. The Bible says whoever calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. So that's what we're going to do. So go ahead and join me as we say this. Say, God, thank you for loving me. I'm sorry for my sins. I believe that you died and rose again. Thank you for washing my sins away. I choose to live for you from this day forward. In Jesus' name, amen. Awesome. Give them a really big hand. If you made that decision, we want to follow up with you, whether that was the first time or whether you're recommitting your life to following God. We've got some people at the Next Steps Hub, which is just out these main doors, or you can text Res Yes to 94,000. So the Next Steps Hubs, or text Res Yes to 94,000. We want to follow up with you. We want to be praying for you by name that God would strengthen you and help you to walk this out. So please text us or swing by the Next Steps Hub. Check out this video of what's going on.